Howdy, y'all. This is Ryan, the maintenance director at Symbiosis. I am coming to you because I want to talk about a problem that we've been running into a lot. I'm going to call it in this video root collar dysfunction on trees. It's a common problem. Sometimes arborists will come in and fix it for you. Sometimes I will come in and fix it for you. But I've been reading studies recently that up to 90% of human planted trees suffer from this problem. So I feel like it's very important that you be aware of it, because probably if you have planted a tree or if someone has planted a tree for you, it is suffering from this issue to a greater or lesser degree. So we need to be able to identify it and hopefully remediate it, or at least know when we need to get a professional to help us remediate it. This is a volunteer peach tree that I'm gonna have us look at to discuss what a root collar dysfunction is, what it looks like. So this is one where the tree is in pretty good health, but it does have some things that are really indicative of root collar dysfunction. And I'm gonna direct your view down here, and this is where we need to be looking for this problem. So one of the key things that I see, or rather don't see here, is the root flare. This tree appears to be buried a little bit too deep because we don't see a taper out of the roots at this point. Some other clues that there's dysfunction is a gamosi, a place where an insect has damaged and caused sap to leak and then dry. And we can also see this root sucker. This is some peach tree coming up. And this is being pushed out of the roots because they're essentially buried too deeply, so they're trying to set up a second shop that doesn't have the issue that they're facing. Yeah, we're just like trying to carefully remove soil material that is sitting on the trunk of the tree. That material, when it sits on the trunk of the tree, can cause rot. And since right under the bark is the phloem tissue, that's going to really impact the tree's ability to move resources up from the roots to the top of the tree and then down from the top of the tree to the roots. So it creates a cyclical dysfunction in terms of how much photosynthesis the tree is able to do. In this case, we had inches of soil piling up, so it's going to be a more extreme issue. And now that I'm sitting here looking at the tree, on this side, I'm also seeing a lot of kind of like cracking of the bark. And a lot of times that starts at a place where there's just moisture trapped against the bark. And then that splitting can travel vertically. I'm seeing good flaring of this now, so I'm getting to the point where I'm going to stop. Especially this is a root coming out. That's probably a secondary root. But in this case, I'm pretty happy to leave it because I don't want to do too much disturbance. I just want to give this a chance to dry out, which will allow it to start its own healing process. Cool. So here's another example. I was able to spot this one from pretty far away because I've got a good sense of all of the issues that can be related to this root issue. The root of the problem, and it's an issue with the roots in a literal sense. Some of the things that tipped me off to this one was, again, root suckers. These coming up from the ground is a great indicator that there is trunk tissue that is trying to, put out new roots and put out new growth to kind of adjust to this problem. Another one that is classic that you're going to see is cracking and splitting of bark. Especially vertically. Vertical cracks are a really good tip, or like exposed tissue under the bark, or big gaps in bark. And another thing, I don't know if you can see them right now because I kind of cleared this a little bit and scared them away, but there's at least one roly-poly here, and those are going to be a pretty good indicator. They're not doing any damage to the tree. They're eating tissue that has rotted there, So they're an indicator. We don't need to think about this in terms of like, let's kill the secondary thing. We need to fix the root issue, and they'll just move on when there's no rotten tissue there to eat. But in the meantime, if around the base of a tree you see a lot of arthropods, that's a clue. That's a clue that we need to interact. So we're probably going to cut, and I'll dig this out a little bit, and I can show you what it looks like, you know, when I'm done sort of like giving this an initial treatment. So I will clip these for access purpose. And they also do funnel a lot of energy away from the top growth of the tree. And especially if we've got an improved variety of fruit, that's not what we want. We want to grow, you know, the thing that was grafted onto the rootstock. We don't want to grow the rootstock. If you are in like a food forest environment, it's not the worst thing in the world if you have to let just the rootstock grow, because that will be a vigorous tree. But it won't have the improved fruit that I think a lot of us are dreaming of when we plant fruit trees. Pull some of this, because I am trying to be careful while digging to not do any extra damage. This is just kind of dead, so I'm just trying to get it out of the way. Can carefully dig up this area right around the base of the tree. Pull some of this material away. Underground irrigation line that's making this situation even wetter. Okay, so I said we were gonna cut. I think you might have seen me working on this because we did record some of that while I was doing it. You know, I spent about 10 minutes digging this out. And just like, you know, the further that I got into this, the more dysfunctional it clearly was. There was like pooling water underground. There were root chewing underground insects, lots more of those arthropods, and just as you can see, like upwards of 6 inches of trunk was being impacted by this. So this tree has never been reaching the potential that it could have had if this was cleared out and if it was able to grow and maintain healthy vascular tissue. Just by doing this and kind of maintaining this being dug out, we're going to see increased growth. I have been working a lot on this through the late spring and summer in a lot of locations. And the response is pretty immediate and pretty robust, which, considering that there's no input here, that you don't have to go and buy anything to make this improvement, that's pretty good. Most of the time when we think about, you know, improving growth rates, significantly aiding a tree, we're thinking about buying something and applying it. And this is, you know, if you have a digging implement, this is free and you can do it now to aid your trees. So, you know, do go take a look at your trees, and I will encourage you, you know, from now on, when you do those health assessments on your trees, work from the root up. You should be seeing a root coming out from the side of the trunk. And if you can't see the root flare, it's because you're a loser. And, you know, here's just one last example. This is where our trees with this issue are trending. You know, on a long enough timeline, this complex of issues leads to death. You know, the way that I've explained it before is that the trees that we see that live, you know, really significantly longer than other trees of their same type, like General Sherman out there. You know, General Sherman is not buried too deep, and he does not have root dysfunction. So if you're imagining one of your trees, you know, living many times longer than your lifetime, this is something that we have to head off. It can be headed off at planting, but this happens so much because it's no one person's fault. You know, you might plant it too deep, sure, but it also might be planted too deep in the pot when you get it, and you maybe propagate that error. You might also plant it into some freshly moved soil, in which case it could sink after planting. And there's also an issue of slopes and amendments getting added and things sort of piling on top and creating this issue even though the tree was not initially planted too deep. So it's something where we want to check all of the trees that we've planted, and we want to, you know, continue checking to some degree, again, to make sure that we see that root flare. And then we can head off, you know, loss of trees and really speed up their growth and increase their ability to fruit. This is a good one. I think this is affecting quite a lot of trees, and many trees that you might think are dysfunctional for other reasons may secretly be having the root dysfunction that we're talking about. So go and check. Let me know if you need help, or you can always consult an arborist. There are specialized tools to deal with this. But given the wet summer that we're currently experiencing, this is something I'm particularly worried about. This one did die recently, and I believe it's because of the moisture level coming up in the soil combined with the root dysfunction, creating a real acute problem for this tree. We don't need to let too much of this happen.
All right, hey, thanks guys. Appreciate you watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to learn more about what we do, how we do it, why we do it, you can hop over to our website. There's tons of good articles. You can join our newsletter. You can follow us on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. We'd love to see you there and answer your questions. Thanks again. Enjoy.